To all of my new players out there, brand new players who are just starting to play Shadowverse Worlds Beyond. When you start out the game, you start playing games, let's say you want to go ahead and hop into rank mode here, you're not going to really have a lot of choices as far as the decks you can use. You can try to make your own deck, but the problem is the cards that you start with in the game are just the cards from these default decks that the game starts you with. So to all the new players out there, I wanted to make this video to just try to kind of help you out a little bit. I want to help you try to avoid a couple big mistakes you might potentially make, as well as avoid what I think could be some major frustrations that you could have if, for example, you start playing the wrong class right from the get-go. Let's go back and look at these default decks one more time. There's basically 7 classes in the game, and if you just started playing the game recently, it's pretty likely, I would say, that you're going to start by just choosing a couple of these default decks to go ahead and start playing the game, start ranking up with, start getting experience in the game. I have to say, unfortunately, the power level difference between some of these decks is absolutely huge. And so I think one of the first major mistakes that you might make that could honestly really impact the enjoyment of the game early on is choosing the wrong default decks to try out early in the game. Some of them, I think you're really going to have to open enough packs to make the deck actually decently good. Otherwise, it's just going to be extremely frustrating to play. Let me start by mentioning 2 decks that I think are the absolute worst and that I think could lead to a lot of frustration. And the first one is going to be this Abysscraft default deck. Let's go ahead and take a look at why. Just really quickly, why is this deck so terrible? The main thing that this Abysscraft and the next deck I'm going to shout out that I really want you to just go ahead and just avoid, or at least know that if you try these out, it's probably going to be a frustrating experience. It's going to be really difficult to win. First of all, the average power level of the cards in some of these decks are just way lower than some of the other decks. And I want to shout out in this deck, Amorous Necromancer. I feel like this is supposed to be like kind of one of the better cards in the deck. Most of these default decks will have one card that has like an evolve or a super evolve mechanic, where when you evolve or super evolve them, they have like a pretty strong, powerful effect. And early on, these are going to be how you're going to kind of try to win a lot of matches, is getting some of these strong effects from the evolve and super evolve. But if we look, for example, in this Abysscraft deck, this Amorous Necromancer, honestly, it's just really not even that great. And I think this is supposed to be kind of one of the key cards in this deck to try to actually win, but it doesn't even really do anything. All it does is literally summon 2 1/1s to the field. And both of these 1/1s are going to leave the field as soon as they're summoned. So I have to say, I think this card is just kind of terrible, to be honest, at the very least for being the evolve, super evolve card of this deck. Let's compare the power level of that to the power level of, for example, in the Dragon deck. In the Dragon deck, you get Draconic Berserker. It's the same cost, 4 costs for a 4/5. So basically same cost and stats. And yet when you super evolve this, it deals 4 damage to every single one of the enemy followers. So it basically will, most of the time, it'll often just completely clear wipe the enemy's board. And maybe they have one big monster, you super evolve this, and then you kill their big monster. You've completely done a board wipe and you're left with a big monster still on the field. This card is like maybe 10 times better than the Amorous Necromancer. So the Abysscraft deck, to be honest, it just kind of got shafted in terms of the overall power level of the cards. Let's look at the Portalcraft deck. Is another great example. Look at this Mecha Cavalier in the Portalcraft deck. For 5 mana, when you super evolve this, you get to summon 2 4/4s with Ward, basically Defender, defends your hero. So that's going to be 2 4/4s. That's 8/8 worth of stats, plus the super evolved original 4/4. That's going to become a 7/7. So you're going to end up with basically, for 5 mana, you're going to end up with essentially a 15/15, and you're going to have 2 defenders out on the field. Or actually, sorry, no, 3 defenders out on the field. So not only does the Abysscraft default deck get completely shafted in terms of the just overall power level of the cards, but the cards, they don't even work well together. For example, you got this card like Night Fiend. Okay, not really too bad of a card, I feel like. It's a 4/3 for 3, you deal 1 damage to your leader. So this is kind of telling you, okay, you kind of want to be like attacking their face a little bit, maybe trying to get an early quick win going face. You got this Mistress of the Fang. She seems fine. She's okay. She's got Storm. She can attack quick, and Bane. The stats aren't super great, but she can kill something. So it's kind of like the deck wants you to try to go face and kill your opponent as fast as possible. But then look at the cards that you get paired with. You've got Soul Predation, another one of your silvers, which in theory might be one of the stronger cards in the deck. And what do? You select an allied follower on the field and you destroy it. And you get to draw 2 cards. This card really is just not that great. It's not that powerful. And how are you going to kill the opponent going face if you're killing your own creatures? This card, it just doesn't even really, it's kind of like anti-synergy with this deck. Let's just make a long story short. Okay, this deck is absolutely terrible garbage. I've actually been making a Zero to Hero free-to-play series if you want to see some of these default decks in action. And that was the only deck I skipped because I thought it was so terrible. So please save yourself the frustration. Don't even mess with that deck until you've opened like a ton of packs and you know that you can significantly upgrade it. All right, same story with this. This is going to be the Runecraft default deck. These are the only two decks that I genuinely think you should probably just avoid because I think you're going to get frustrated. This is another deck. It's going to be so hard to win with this. I did cover this in one of my free-to-play Zero to Hero episodes. I played this default deck. I was able to win with it, but it's like trying to win despite how bad the deck is. You've got, for example, this Remy and Rami. This card is honestly pretty decent, pretty good, but it's like one of the only really decent good cards in the deck. I don't know how you close matches out with this deck, and you're going to go against a few opponents who are going to have a couple legendaries, and a lot of the legendaries in this game are like, you know, way better than just the normal cards you're going to get in the default deck. This deck just doesn't really have any way to actually close out matches against opponents that have anything decent going on. This Blaze Destroyer is supposed to be kind of like the big finisher of this deck, but honestly, in all the games I played with this default deck, this Blaze Destroyer wasn't even as good as this Caravan Mammoth, which I think most people would agree is basically not that great of a card, even though for some reason I tended to get a lot of wins with it, which is kind of funny. All right, so that's the first mistake I don't want y'all to make. I want you to avoid these two default decks. I'm going to rate these both as F tier in terms of just starting out the game and playing. These are F tier garbage. Throw them in the trash can and don't revisit these decks until you can at least do some upgrading from packs that you open. And before we move on to the next mistake, I'm just going to shout out really quickly how I would order these decks in terms of how powerful they are. I'm going to do one more follow-up video where I go more in detail on the stronger decks of the default decks, but my rating is as follows. Avoid those two decks, like I said, okay? The next weakest deck, in my opinion, is going to be the Havencraft deck. I think you can probably get some wins with it, but I think it is still going to be a little bit too much of a struggle. You can try it out if you want, but don't be surprised if you also get a little frustrated with that deck. The next weakest one, let's call this B tier for Havencraft, and I would say there's one more B tier deck, which I would say is the Forestcraft deck. I think you could get some wins with the Forestcraft deck. Again, go check out my Zero to Hero series where I talk more in depth about each one of these decks. And I even show, you know, me getting a win with this deck, and I talk about how you can win with the Forestcraft deck, just starting with the default deck if you're a brand new player. But it's also going to be a little bit challenging, I think, just using the default deck. So let's move on to the first deck that I'm going to consider A tier for default decks, and that's going to be this Swordcraft deck. Here, we're finally starting to get a little bit of power. We're finally starting to see a strategy and get cards that I think could potentially close out matches. But realistically, there's basically two decks that I think if you want to just hop in and start a default deck and you want to have some power in your deck, it's going to be these two decks. It's going to be this bottom left one here, this Portalcraft deck, and it's going to be the one above the Dragoncraft deck. Big surprise, those were the two decks that I showed some of the Silver Evolve and Super Evolve cards as being really good in the decks. Really quickly, in the Dragoncraft deck, for example, you can get 5/5 Intimidators. This card is going to be a card that can close out matches early on when you're a beginner. Just play this on turn 7 and evolve or super evolve either one of these cards. It's going to be a really strong turn 7, and then you're going to be able to just smash face with that 5/5 that they may not be able to deal with, because it's kind of hard to deal with Intimidates early on when you're playing against other beginning players. And then you've actually got ways to close out the match too with deal 6 damage to the enemy leader. This is a card that's really missing, for example, from that Abysscraft deck. It just doesn't have ways to close out the match. So the average card strength is just way higher. Even this Axe-wielding Dragon Slayer is really pretty solid just early on in the game when you're starting out. Same thing with this Portalcraft deck. If you look at the just average card strength, Mecha Cavalier is absolutely insane early on. Bullet from Beyond, you get to kill any one of their followers and you get 2 gears. This is a great card. I mean, I won't be surprised if you've seen this played in basically every rank. Similarly, Mechanized Beast, so much better average strength than those other cards, and they actually have ways to close out matches and actually win games. In fact, if you gave me this Portalcraft deck and told me to play against somebody of a similar skill with the Abysscraft and the Runecraft deck, I feel like I would literally never lose a game unless I had like a 1 out of 100 unlucky draw where it was just impossible to do anything. All right, everybody. So with that, I hope I'm able to save folks some frustration. Let's talk about another point that I think could be probably an even bigger point of frustration for people, which is going to be choosing the wrong starter deck. I guess I'll just call this the starter deck. I don't know what these are called. The deck that you get whenever you clear these first 9 missions, and it only lets you choose, unfortunately, 1 deck that you can pick. All right, so everybody, you only get 1 shot. Do not miss your chance to get a good deck. I'm going to be honest, I think people could end up quitting the game because they choose the wrong starter deck. So here's my first piece of advice. Before you even choose one of these starter decks, I do want you to go ahead and play those default decks. Go ahead and open some packs, level up those decks a little bit by changing some of the cards out, making them stronger, and get some experience with a few of the classes. That way, when you want to try to evaluate which one of these decks are strong, for example, the Abysscraft deck, whenever you check to get the information, you can actually look through these cards understand what they do, understand how Abysscraft works. Of course, you're probably not going to play Abysscraft a whole lot because I'm telling you it's pretty weak to start out with. But, you know, you could still play 1 or 2 matches with it just to get an idea of the basic mechanics. And then when you lose over and over again, you'll know why you're losing. It's because the deck is just terrible that they start you with for the default deck. But then, for example, when you look at this legendary card, you're going to be able to better evaluate how good is this deck as a whole when you read through these cards. And you might even be able to start forming an idea of what cards you're kind of looking for, like which golds and silvers are you looking for in that archetype, so you can know if in these starter decks, if these are even the golds that you would even be interested in that class, before you just randomly decide, okay, Abysscraft looks kind of cool, I'm going to just go ahead and take that deck, and then you realize later, okay, all the cards in it were terrible. And I think all of these decks should be at least decent, but I've looked through all of them. If we look at this Officer Swordcraft deck, let's take a look in here. Okay, this legendary card, this card is absolutely excellent. You're going to lose to this card over and over in ranked play. You're going to play ranked play, and they're going to play this on turn 9. They're going to kill a bunch of your guys. It's going to get attacked 2 times, Storm. So on turn 9, you're getting 3 plus 3 when you super evolve it. It gets to attack twice. It's 12 damage to the face, and it can kill potentially all of your followers that are there for blocking. This card is absolutely insane in my opinion. And then when you look through this default deck, you get 3 copies of Luminous Magus. This card is absolutely bonkers also. It's just on turn 5, you get 3 copies of a 2/2. And then whenever they come into play, you get ward, so they defend you. So this is just a generic card for 5 mana. You get 7 power and you get 9 toughness worth of, you know, defenses. Absolutely bonkers. Then you can combo it with like this Ernesta Peacekeeper the following turn for 6 mana. This starter deck is just set up to just win matches against other new players. Fanfare, give all other allied followers +1/+1 and evolve it to give them another +1/+1. You're going to just win games with this turn 5, turn 6. You're just going to win matches against other players. And then you've got Albert. These golds are also excellent. So please be careful, because I feel like this is going to be one of the biggest decisions you're going to make as a new player, is which one of these decks, especially if you're going to be a free-to-player like how I'm starting out with my free-to-play Zero to Hero series. And also, you know, again, feel free to check out those videos and just see kind of how I progress my account through all the rankings to see how it's kind of possible as a free-to-play player. But if you make these mistakes, it's going to be way more difficult. If I was to just hop in and grab one of these decks and it ended up being the worst one, I might be really destroying my chances of actually being able to get to the highest rank in this game. Whereas I feel like, for example, with Swordcraft, you're going to have a shot at getting to the highest rank. Some of these other ones may not. So please be careful when you choose a starter deck. Last time I'll say it, before you choose it, get some experience, play some of the default decks, look through the cards in the starter deck. And final comment about the starter decks too is make sure you open up all your card packs before you choose a starter deck, because they do give you a decent amount of packs. Look at my top right here. I've got 49 tickets to open 49 packs. I haven't started opening packs yet. I've just been messing with the default decks. So that's 50 packs. So I'm probably going to get somewhere between like 5 or 6 legendaries if I understand the odds correctly. There's a chance that you could just get 3 of the same legendary, and that was the starter deck that you were planning on picking. And then suddenly you're just wasting that legendary pick in the starter deck. So make sure you open all of the free packs that you plan on opening. Go ahead and gather up all these tickets. Probably play for, I would say, a couple days at least to get all of these free tickets that they're going to give you. Open all the packs up and just make sure that you're not wasting that legendary pick, because each of the starter decks comes with 1 legendary. And the last thing you want to do is open that starter deck, get that legendary, and then open 50 free packs. And you just get that horrible luck where you happen to get 3 of that legendary. They also give you a legendary card pack as well. So that's going to be another legendary that you're going to start the game with. So really you're looking at maybe 6 or 7 legendaries that I'm probably going to end up getting, plus the gold packs. Maybe you're going to get around 10 legendaries once you've done a bunch of missions, some of the dailies and other things. Final point I want to make also with opening your packs first is once you open your packs, you may find that you get a lot of legendaries or really good cards in one specific class. And then that's going to make you decide, okay, that's the class that I want to play. So then once that's decided, then once again, once you've opened all those packs, then you can go back and you see, okay, I'm actually going to play Runecraft after all. Even though it starts you with pretty bad Runecraft cards, I opened a ton of Runecraft legendaries. I really want to play that. Then you can go back to there's actually 2 Runecraft decks, I think, right? Yeah, there's a Spell Runecraft and there's also a Earthright Runecraft. Then you can go back and see, okay, which legendary was I missing? For example, this Quan is probably the best legendary, I'm going to guess, in Runecraft. And maybe oh, okay, I opened 2 Quan. I need that 3rd Quan, and I actually don't need the legendary from the other Runecraft starter deck. Now I'm making a smart decision, and I'm getting the exact legendary I need, once again, instead of totally wasting this really valuable pick that you're getting early on in the game. I really hope this video helps a few players save some major frustrations and some major mistakes. If you feel like, oh my gosh, wow, you are actually really saving me here, I could have potentially made some bad mistakes, do consider subscribing to the channel. I'm going to show you how to play totally free to play and take your rank all the way to the top ranks in the game. I think it should be fun. Feel free to come on that journey with me. I'll also be making more videos like this to try to just help you out, help your gameplay, different tips and things. All right, everybody. And the last mistake that I don't want you to make really quick is I don't want you to miss out on some of these free packs. There's There's a couple ways to get free packs in the game. Remember everybody, open all your free packs before you choose your starter deck. So let's go ahead and get you about 10 free packs right now, just in case you might have missed either one of these. If you look on this bottom left banner here, it actually shows 2 of them. Of course, look at the ongoing events, but also if you scroll through here, there's one invite friends. If we go ahead and click on that, you're going to get 2,000 gold just for entering someone's invite code into your game. Okay, if you need an invite code to enter, you haven't entered one, don't worry about it. Just literally look at the screen right now, look at the bottom left. This is my invite code. Feel free to just go ahead and copy this and use it, and then go ahead and just enter your invite code. Click this button right here. You're going to get 2,000 rupees. All right, that's 4 packs right there. All right, so that's 4 packs. There's another 5 packs you can get by linking your Cygames ID, so don't forget to do that as well, just in case you missed it. And if you click through here on the bottom left, you can see, for example, there's another one, link with Shadowverse. You go ahead and click. The way that I linked my Cygames ID and got my 5 free packs, I just went up to these top right little 9 little boxes. I went to the additional menus here on the bottom middle, and then right here you can see link Cygames ID. If I click this, it's not going to show because I have my game in streamer mode. Tries to hide my personal information, all that. But if you go here and do this, I finally was able to do this. Guys, it took me multiple days to be able to actually get this to work because the emails were totally broken. I couldn't get the verification emails. It is finally working for me now, and I think it should work for everybody, that you should be able to do this. All right, so remember, open your packs before you choose a starter deck. Grab these free packs. All right, and this is the last mistake I swear for this video is, of course, you probably already know that every day you're going to get 3 free missions, essentially once a day. They're on these really annoying, stupid timers, which I actually hate. But you probably already know to make sure to do these 3 missions every day, so that you can also get free packs and free vials. The last lightning quick mistake, everybody, don't underestimate and don't forget to go to the park and there's also daily quests in the park that you can do in the lobby area. All right, so once a day, don't forget to, when you're doing your regular missions, go ahead and come into this lobby area also. Go ahead and go to quests on the top right here. And if you look, there's going to be this little daily quest section on the right. It says, all right, in 3 hours, it's going to refresh. I'm going to get these 2 again. I think they're always the same, probably. It's basically just entering the park. You get 1 key and then completing a match at a battle table, and you get another park key. You can bring these keys, of course, over to the chest and open this chest. Y'all, yesterday I had 10 keys. I opened this chest for 10 keys. I got 3 gold cards. All right, so don't forget to do that. I think people are honestly underestimating how many decent good cards. All 3 of the gold cards I got yesterday were really good cards, actually. I'm probably gonna end up playing all 3 of those golds. All right, everybody, that's the video. If I helped you out to avoid some major potential frustrations, got you free packs and things like that, you want to show your appreciation, do consider subscribing to the channel. Hit that like button on the video, leave a comment, yada, yada, yada. And with that, I'm ready to get back and play some actual matches, have some fun. And do consider, I'll throw up a link also to my playlist where I'm showing my ranked climb all the way from 0 to hero, all while staying completely free to play. So don't forget to check out that too if that sounds interesting. All right, I'll see you later. Let's try to have some fun with this game if we can.